The film begins in Italy, where an American family named the Daltons, consisting of Ben, Scoot McNairy, Louise, Mackenzie Davis, and their daughter Agnes, Alex West Leffler, is on vacation at a resort. 11-year-old Agnes still relies on her stuffed rabbit, Hoppy, for emotional comfort. However, Ben and Louise struggle to enjoy their time as the only people they interact with are a dull Danish couple. When Agnes loses Hoppy, she becomes distraught. Fortunately, a British couple, the Felts, Patty, James McAvoy, and Chiara, Aisling Franciosi, along with their mute son Ant, Dan Howe, find the toy. The Felts impress the Daltons and share lunch with them. During the meal, Ben shares that the family has relocated to London for his job, and Louise has quit her job to facilitate the move. Patty extends an invitation for the Daltons to visit their country estate. After returning to London, Ben expresses disappointment to Louise about not securing a hoped-for job deal. He also voices concern regarding Agnes's development and her need to outgrow her doll. They receive a postcard from Patty and Chiara inviting them again, prompting the Daltons to consider the invitation. Although Louise feels cautious about spending time with acquaintances, she and Ben ultimately warm to the idea. The Daltons arrive at the Felts estate just in time for dinner. Patty proudly presents a goose he has prepared and offers some to Louise, even though she had previously mentioned being a vegetarian. To remain polite, Louise takes a bite, but discreetly spits it out when Patty and Chiara aren't watching. While Ben steps outside to take out the trash, Ant follows him and attempts to show him that his tongue has been cut out. Meanwhile, the adults continue their gathering as Ant and Agnes share a room for the night. Louise hears Ant crying in his sleep, but Patty and Chiara reassure her that he will eventually settle down, which he does. The following day, both families embark on a hike through the woods. Agnes seeks out a swing set, prompting Patty to roughly move Ant aside to make space for her. Patty then suggests they all take a dip in a nearby lake since Louise has been complaining of neck pain. As Louise expresses her discomfort to Ben, Chiara invites them to join her and Patty for dinner at a nearby restaurant, leaving Ant with his babysitter, Mujid, Motaz Mulhis, and Agnes. During dinner, Patty and Chiara openly discuss their active sex life, while Louise casually mentions that her and Ben's sex life has dwindled, making Ben uncomfortable. The couple then jokes by pretending to engage in oral sex under the table. Meanwhile, Ant takes Agnes to a bedroom where he reveals a drawer filled with watches, one of which has a Danish inscription and another man's name on it. Ant tries to keep Agnes quiet so that Mujid won't find them, having tricked him into playing hide and seek. He also shows Agnes his torso, which is marked with bruises and scars. Later, before turning in for the night, Ben expresses his irritation with what Louise shared with Patty and Chiara, noting that he hasn't fully come to terms with another man's penis appearing on her phone. They discuss their feelings and share a hug while Patty secretly observes them. Later that night, Louise wakes up and goes to check on Agnes, but finds neither her nor Ant in their beds. She searches throughout the house until she discovers Agnes asleep beside Chiara. Worried, she retrieves her daughter and takes her back to their room. As morning arrives, Louise tells Ben that finding Agnes asleep in Patty and Chiara's room is the final straw, and insists they need to leave right away. The Daltons attempt to sneak out quietly to avoid waking Patty and Chiara, but on the road, Agnes panics when she realizes they left Hoppy behind. Ben tries to calm her, but she kicks his seat, nearly causing them to collide with a truck. Ultimately, Ben gives in and drives back to the house to retrieve the doll. But Patty and Chiara are already awake and appear upset that the Daltons tried to leave without saying goodbye. When Louise confesses her discomfort about what she witnessed the night before, Chiara apologizes, explaining that she has a motherly instinct stemming from the loss of their other daughter, Mary. The Daltons, feeling sympathetic, apologize for their hasty departure. Patty takes Ben Fox hunting while Louise and Chiara stay back with the children. Ant tries to write a message to Agnes, but since it's in Danish, she can't understand it, and he eats the note before Chiara notices. After Ben misses his chance to shoot a fox, Patty leads him to a secluded area where they can unleash primal, cathartic screams. The two families share lunch together, but Louise becomes upset when Ciara makes remarks about Agnes's eating habits. Although Ciara apologizes, Patty suggests that Louise should apologize as well. Later, Agnes and Aunt attempt to showcase a dance they've been practicing to Cotton-Eyed Joe. But Patty continues to criticize Aunt's dancing, which unsettles Agnes. Patty naps, and while he's out, Aunt sneaks into his room and swipes his keys. He takes Agnes to the barn and reveals a hidden basement, where he shows her a book filled with disturbing photographs of families Patty and Ciara have encountered. Each picture depicts an unhappy child from a previous family, alongside a seemingly innocent couple. Aunt motions to Agnes that Patty and Ciara had his tongue cut out and plan to make her their next victim, following the same pattern they used with the other families. Agnes discreetly takes photos of the evidence on her phone and decides to share them with Louise. When Patty wakes up and notices the exposed basement latch, Aunt tries to return his keys, but Patty notices something is amiss. After Ben and Louise learn the horrifying truth from Agnes, they try to find a way to leave calmly. They concoct an excuse by telling Patty and Ciara that Agnes has started her period. But just as they're about to leave, they discover they have a flat tire. Patty takes the opportunity to change the tire, but Agnes panics when she realizes her favorite doll, Hoppy, is missing again. Patty reveals that the doll is stuck in the gutters, prompting Ben to retrieve it using a ladder. However, they soon discover Hoppy has been shredded. Agnes's emotional turmoil reaches a boiling point, and she insists they need to leave immediately. As they try to make their escape, they attempt to get Aunt to open the gate, but Patty uses the keys to unlock it. As they begin to drive away, Agnes is shocked to see Patty push Aunt into the lake. Ben rushes to save him, while Louise tries to drive away with Agnes, but Patty seals their escape route by closing the gate. Ben manages to save Aunt, but Patty and Ciara now take Louise and Agnes hostage at gunpoint. Patty demands the Daltons' money, but before anything else can happen, Louise uses a concealed box cutter to slash Patty's face. She then successfully takes the rifle away from Ciara and begins fighting back. Ben eventually manages to cut himself, Agnes, and Aunt free from their restraints, and they make a desperate run for it. However, Patty and Ciara's accomplice, Mike, shows up and starts shooting, forcing the family to flee back to the house and hide. The villains hunt for the family while Ben and Louise work to keep the kids hidden, barricading themselves in the bedroom. In an attempt to attract attention, Ben tries to use one of Patty's liquor bottles to set the barn on fire, but he miscalculates and drops the bottle onto Patty's car instead. Mike starts firing his gun at them and makes a move to get inside. Ben grabs a hammer to confront Mike, but Mike nearly overpowers him and impales Ben's head on broken glass. At the critical moment, Louise seizes the hammer and drives it into Mike's head. When Patty comes to attack, Louise sprays drain cleaner in his face, severely burning him before Ciara rushes in to help. The family then attempts to escape from the roof using a ladder. Ciara catches up to them, but Louise strikes her over the head, causing Ciara to fall off the roof to her death and knocking down the ladder in the process. Ben climbs down but injures his leg. Despite this, he manages to retrieve the ladder for Louise, Agnes, and Aunt to descend. Patty soon finds them and holds Agnes at gunpoint, claiming he will take her now that Ciara is dead and there is no one left to care for her. As he prepares to kill her parents, Agnes reacts by jamming a ketamine needle into Patty's abdomen, incapacitating him. Before they leave, Aunt picks up a large brick. Patty expresses his pride in Aunt, just before Aunt smashes Patty's skull in a fit of rage. Ben and Louise get Aunt and Agnes into Mike's car and make their departure from the estate for good. Agnes gives Hoppy to Aunt to comfort him in the aftermath.